Welcome back. Again, I am Nathan Ayotte. If you have not already, please like and/or subscribe to my channel. We are now going to focus exclusively on option contracts themselves, and we're going to jump right into this immediately. Although we will use the former videos as stepping stones on which to build upon. We are going to answer the following 4 questions. 1, what are option contracts? 2, what are the terms or nomenclature that describe them? 3, what are the 4 fundamental types of option contract transactions and how do they work? Number 4, how are option contracts valued? And lastly, we will cover several examples to better illustrate this, so certainly stay tuned for that because it will be very informative. Okay, question number 1. What are option contracts? Formally, I acknowledge that option contracts are financial derivatives derived from an underlying asset such as a stock. However, now we will dig a little bit deeper. The term option contracts, or simply option, refers to a financial instrument with specific terms. Note that option contracts are indeed terms of a contract. They are contracts with fixed terms, rights, and obligations. Call options and put options form the basis of a wide range of option strategies designed for hedging, income, or speculation, and are bought and sold via online or retail brokers. We will naturally expound more on these details as we address the other 3 questions. Okay, question number 2. What are the terms or nomenclature that describe option contracts? Every option contract is comprised of 5 parts. I will list them in order in which you will see a physical option written. 1, the underlying asset or stock. 2, the expiration date. 3, the strike price. 4, the option type, whether it's a call or a put. And 5, the premium price, sometimes known as the option value. Those are the 5 parts that make up every option contract. Okay, so let's start from the top at number 1 and explain in further detail each of these 5 parts. Okay, the first one, every option contract is based on some underlying asset, usually a stock or ETF, as most people trade them. The option contract controls a fixed amount of the asset. Regarding stocks and ETFs, one contract controls 100 shares. 20 contracts, therefore, control 2,000 shares. The price of the underlying asset will determine the price of the option contract. Okay, the second part. Every option contract has an expiration date. The expiration date is the final day that the option will exist. After the day of expiration, one of 3 things must take place with the option contract. First, the option may expire worthless. An option expiring worthless means that the option has 0 value, and both the buyer and seller of the option contract need do nothing, as the option will automatically expire worthless and be closed by the exchange with no necessary action nor obligation by either the buyer or the seller. Second, the options can be exercised by the option's owner. Exercise of an option means that the option owner has contacted their broker and is exercising their right to either buy 100 shares for every option call contract owned of the underlying stock, or the right to sell 100 shares for every option put contract owned of the underlying stock. This also means that the other party, the individual who sold the option contract, must fulfill such obligations of selling or buying the underlying stock from the option owner who is exercising. Third, the options may be assigned. Options that are assigned means the exact same thing as exercise, except that the owner of the option need do nothing if the options are, quote, in the money and have intrinsic value. The options exchange after the close of the market on the day of expiration will automatically exercise the option contracts on behalf of the option's owner, unless the owner of the option specifically calls their broker and says that they would not like to be assigned. At this point, the exact process will proceed as described in the second case when an option contract is exercised, as long as the option owner does not contact their broker and give instructions to not allow their option contract to be exercised. Okay, number 3. Every option contract has a strike price. The strike price is the price at which the option is exercisable or assignable. It is the price at which 100 shares for every call contract owned must be bought, and the price at which 100 shares for every put contract owned must be sold. The strike price determines whether the option contains any or no value on the expiration day, dependent on the price of the underlying asset. If you still do not understand, do not dismay, be patient, as an example will greatly help your understanding what the strike price is and how it determines option value. Okay, number 4, option type. An option is either a call or a put. If you own a call option, you have the right to buy 100 shares of the underlying stock at the strike price. If you own a put option, you have the right to sell 100 shares of the underlying stock at the strike price. Okay, lastly, number 5, the premium price. Every option contract has a price. That price is determined by the best bid and best ask prices that traders are willing to buy and sell the option. And as mentioned before, the underlying stock price determines what traders are willing to bid and ask for the option. And again, I also want to point out that when I say premium price, it's synonymous with the option value. Okay, the next question that we're going to address. What are the 4 fundamental types of option contract transactions and how do they work? Now, you may take pause and say, well, Nathan, I thought you just said that there's only 2 types of option contracts, a put and a call. Why are you saying that there are 4? Well, there are indeed only 2 types of option contracts, a call and a put. However, there are 4 different types of option contract transactions, emphasis on transactions, because you can either buy or sell each option type. So let me acknowledge each of the 4 option transactions using terminology that we have already covered in this video and that best and most directly describes each one. You may wish to listen to each type multiple times to understand it. Let's start with buying a call. When you buy a call, it is as though the seller is saying to you, quote, I will allow you, but not obligated, to buy 100 shares of this company's stock at a specified strike price at any time between now and the expiration date. For that privilege, I expect you to pay me the current call's premium price. Next is selling a call. When you sell a covered call, it is as though you as the seller are saying, quote, I will allow you, but not obligated, to buy 100 shares of this company's stock at a specified strike price at any time between now and the expiration date. For that privilege, I expect you to pay me the current call's premium price. Okay, the third transaction is buying a put. When you buy a put, it is as though the seller is saying to you, quote, I will allow you, but not obligated, to sell me 100 shares of this company's stock at a specified strike price at any time between now and the expiration date. For that privilege, I expect you to pay me the current put's premium price. A little bit of a P tongue twister there. Okay, lastly, is selling a put. When you sell a cash secured equity put, that's really the extent of the technical name of when you sell a put, a cash secured equity put. It is as though you as the seller are saying, quote, I will allow you, but not obligated, to sell me 100 shares of this company's stock at a specified strike price at any time between now and the expiration date. For that privilege, I expect you to pay me the current put's premium price. Those are the 4 option transaction types with the terms stated in the simplest and most understandable way possible. Okay, our last question. How are option contracts valued? Now, to address this question, we're going to get into some math, some simple arithmetic, and I'm going to present to you some formulas that we're actually going to use to actually value an option contract. And this is how you specifically and most directly value an option contract when you're looking at the different variables. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and use the whiteboard behind me. You may have been wondering why this has been here this whole time. Well, now we're going to get into it and actually use it. Okay, so let's cover the basic formula. It's V naught equals VI plus VT minus VD. Okay, you might be a little bit surprised to see a VD here. We'll get into that in a little bit, what that component is. Okay, now let me describe what each of these variables actually represent. Where V naught equals the option value. This is actually the premium price or the option value that you pay for an option. Okay, then you have VI, which is equal to the intrinsic value. Then you have VT, which is time value. And then you have VD, which is dividend value. V naught here is the option value. The option value is equivalent to the premium price of the option. They are the same. However, the option value is made up of different components, namely the intrinsic value and time value. The dividend value, which is often overlooked, works against the option value if it is a call and for the option value if it is a put. The dividend value is equivalent to the amount of dividends in dollars per share that the company's stock will pay out from now until the day of expiration. If you didn't know, for every dividend that a company pays out, its share price is adjusted downward an equivalent amount. Keep in mind, from a business perspective, if the company pays out money to its shareholders, that's money or cash that the company no longer possesses within the entity. Okay, let's get a little bit more into what VI, or the intrinsic value, is. I'm going to go ahead and transition to a different color here. Now I'm going to put it here. So VI, or the intrinsic value, is equal to PM minus PS. Now, this applies for a call. I have to acknowledge that. A call option. And we also have VI equals PS minus PM, and that is for a put. Now, you might be asking, well, what is PS and PM? Well, I'll start with PS. PS is equal to the strike price of the option. PM is what I'm using to refer to the market price. The market price is the current share price. I use them interchangeably, market price and share price. Now, I need to acknowledge two other important points. The units of all of these, intrinsic value, market price, strike price, they're all displayed in dollars per share. Where VI cannot be less than 0. Okay, that's an important point. You cannot have an intrinsic value of an option that is less than 0. So anytime that you have this component here as negative, then VI is simply 0. If for a put, this little component here, strike price minus the market price, happen to be negative, then again, VI, or the intrinsic value for the put, is 0. So again, VI cannot be less than 0. Very important to acknowledge that. The intrinsic value is an important component of the overall option value. The intrinsic value is the exercisable value of the option contract. If the owner of the option were to contact their broker and exercise their right of the option. Okay, so substituting these parts here into our main equation, which is the option value formula, let's go ahead and do that. V naught equals, so we're going to substitute VI into the formula for a call. Okay, so there's the expanded version of the formula. And again, this is for a call option. Now we're going to write it down for a put. I'm going to go ahead and erase this part to get this out of the way. Now, you may have recognized that I did not put a minus sign for the dividend value on the put side. I put a plus sign. And that's because when a dividend is paid out, it reduces the market price of the stock. And that actually works in the favor for the value of a put because a put actually goes up in value the lower the underlying stock price goes. Okay, there you have it. The option value formula for a call and the option value formula for a put. Now there's one other formula I'm going to explicitly acknowledge here, and that really completes the formulas to assess in more technical detail of the cost of an option contract. And I'm going to go ahead and write it here in red, and it is annualized return. I'm going to write it out in its full extent, equals VT divided by PS, this is the time value, and this is the strike price, all multiplied by 365 days divided by what I'll call TE. Now, you know what this is. This is time value. PS, this is the strike price. TE is a little bit new, so I'll go ahead and put that over here, where TE equals time until expiration. And that's in days. Okay? So we're going to actually look at some examples here, but when you actually look at an option contract, it always explicitly acknowledges its expiration date, but it doesn't explicitly acknowledge how many days it is until today until the contract expires. So in this formula, you need to know exactly how many days until expiration is reached before the option contracts no longer is going to exist. Okay, so there are our formulas, and that's what we're going to use as we jump into some examples. This is where it's going to get a little bit fun. We will now take some real-world option contract cases and utilize the above formulas to better understand what its option value is comprised of, but probably more importantly, what the annualized returned cost of the option contracts are, or if you're selling the option contracts, what annualized return are you gaining, everything being compared apples to apples. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into our first one. I'm going to go ahead and I'll use a different color at this point. We'll use green. Okay, I randomly selected an option contract. I'm going to use this one. It's on Home Depot. Home Depot expiring September 16, 2022 at a strike price of 300 call, and I took a look today and it's currently trading at $10.20. Okay, now I will also acknowledge that PM is currently $289 a share. If you don't remember what PM is, that's the market price or the current share price that Home Depot is trading on the market. I also took a look and found that it is going to be paying a dividend, and the dividend that Home Depot will be paying will be $1.90 on September 1st. I'll tuck that little fact away right there. Okay, let's start from the beginning. And what does this mean? So this is actually the real option contract and how it's displayed, how it's written, the nomenclature that it's used. This is how every option contract on the market is displayed. But what is this telling me? I've already, of course, acknowledged this in the video, step by step, in the same sequence that you would be seeing an option contract written like this. But let's start from the top. Okay, HD, that's simply the ticker symbol of Home Depot. It tells me of what underlying asset or underlying stock that this option contract is based upon. It's Home Depot. When does the contract expire? Well, it expires when the market closes on September 16, 2022. That's approximately, by the way, about two months from today. Then we have 300. Make sure this is 300, not 6. 300, that is the strike price of the option contract. And what type of option is this? This is a C, stands for call. If it was a put, it would simply be a P for for put. This contract has true intrinsic value if the market price is above $300, which is the exercisable strike price. However, the value of the contract is trading for $10.20 right now. I looked this up just recently. Although the market price of Home Depot is less than $300 a share. It's trading at $289 a share. So you may ask, your immediate question is, well, if it's less than the strike price, and if I can't actually, if I were to try and exercise this, the contract is essentially valueless, at least from the intrinsic value point of view. How does it have $10.20? Well, that's the time value component that's made up in the value of the contract. And that's because this person who owns this contract controls 100 shares at $300 a share. That's $30,000 of equity that they control at this price until September 16. So they control that amount of equity, $30,000 worth of Home Depot, for 2 more months. And because of that time component that's in there, because every stock price is dynamic, it changes every day, the value of this option is trading at $10.20 per share. Now, how many shares is in a contract? It's 100 shares. So to actually buy this option contract is $10.20 times 100 shares for a total of $1,020. Okay, though, let's actually utilize the formula here that we've acknowledged and better diagnose this particular option contract. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and utilize the top formula here to assess this option contract and its price and all of its components. Obviously, we're going to use the top one because this is for a call, and this is a Home Depot option call. Okay, so what is V0, or the option value? Well, that's the actual price of the option, which we have that, which is $10.20. So I'm going to put here $10.20 equals PM. So what's PM? That's the current market price, which is $289. Minus the strike price, which is $300. Plus VT. What's VT? Well, that's actually the unknown. So we're going to put the time value is unknown, and then we have VD. Now, this option expires on September 16, and we have one payment until then in the amount of $1.90 that occurs on September 1st. So there is going to be a dividend payment before our expiration date on September 16. So we have to include that. That actually is going to impact the value of the option contract, particularly on the ex-dividend date of September 1st. Okay, so we have here minus $1.90. Now, all we have to do is solve for the time value, VT, which is the only unknown variable in this equation. And if we have only one unknown, well, we can solve it. Okay, now let's break this down. So I'm going to put here $10.20 equals, now keep in mind, remember, this is the component of the intrinsic value. And 289 minus 300 would leave us with negative 11. But can the intrinsic value be less than 0? No, it cannot. So this whole component, this whole component here will actually go to 0. So we have 0 plus VT minus 1.9. Now, simply solving for the time value, if I want to get rid of this negative 1.9, which means I'm going to have to add 1.9 over here, and that's going to give us 12.1 equals VT. Okay, and if you want to add in the units, that's dollars per share. Okay, so what this is saying here is that the time value of this Home Depot option contract is $12.10 per share. And you might think, well, man, shouldn't it be $10.20? Well, because this is the one thing that a lot of people will miss is this dividend value is working against us if we own this option contract. That's because when Home Depot pays out the $1.90 per share on September 1st, the value of the market price is actually going to tick down a congruent amount, $1.90. So that is actually working against us in the value of the option. And as a result, that's why it's added into this when it actually comes to solving the formula, and the time value is $12.10. I will acknowledge this. If you had sold this option contract, it would actually be working in your favor. For one, you actually receive the $1.90 since you own this underlying stock of the option, and it reduces the actual market price of the option by $1.90, which is making it more difficult for the person who bought your option contract to break above this $300 strike price. Okay, now with all that, this is the big piece that we needed to know. What is the time value of the option, which is $12.10? Now all we need to do is plug this into the annualized return, and we're going to be able to see what the annualized return cost of owning this option call on Home Depot really is. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer to a different color here. Okay, annualized return. Equals VT, which we know is $12.10, divided by the strike price. Okay, the strike price, as we know, is 300. Times 365 divided by the time until expiration. Now, the Home Depot contract expires on September 16. It just happens to be 67 days from today. And I know that because I already looked that up before doing this calculation, so I wouldn't have to waste the time. But it's 67 days from today. Okay, simply doing the math. I'm just going to plug this into my trusty calculator. Okay, and it comes out to 21.9. 21.9. Now, what does this figure represent? So what does this annualized return figure actually represent of 21.9%? Well, if you're the buyer of this Home Depot option call, this is the amount of cost to you in terms of almost looking at it from the perspective of interest. You're going to be paying $12.10 of interest on a asset of priced at $300 per share that you control, and that's a cost to you. And this is an easy way of actually comparing it apples to apples by breaking it down on an annualized perspective. That's why you multiply it by 365 days in a year, divided by the amount of days until the contract expires. So the more days that you actually control, then it's a less cost to you because there's more time that you have to control the terms of the contract. Now, if you had sold this as a covered call that you sold, you are, on the equity that you sold, earning a 21.9% return on your money for a 67-day period. Keep in mind, this is annualized. If this was the amount you earned, $12.10 for the full year, you'd be at probably about 1/4, 1/5 of this because it's for only 67 days. But nonetheless, annualizing it for the 67-day period, you are earning 21.9%. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at another example And all I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the same option contract, but I'm going to change the strike price and use the formula here and see how things change. Okay, this second option contract that we're going to look at as an example is this. Home Depot, same expiration date, September 16, 22, but the strike price now is $275 per share. It's still a call, and the value of this option contract, I actually looked it up to see if I were to buy this option call or if I were to sell it as a covered call. It's trading at $24.20. Okay, now the market price is the same. It hasn't changed. It's still $289, just as the former example. And the dividend is still, we have the same expiration date. It's still going to pay a dividend on September 1st of $1.90. Okay, now you'll notice here that the price of this option is significantly more. The other one was $10.20. This one happened to be $24.20. And your immediate question might be, why is the value of this option with the same underlying asset, Home Depot, for this until the same expiration date, September 16? It's also a call, not a put, but the strike price now is $275. And that is the element that's causing the variance in the value of the option itself, even though the price of Home Depot is identical compared to what the example we had used before. So why? Well, notice that the terms of this contract are different in terms of the strike price in which you control the underlying stock. You control it at a lower or better price. And as a result of having control of the price at a better price, a lower price, then anybody who's selling this option is going to expect that you pay more. And on top of it, this contract holds intrinsic value. And we're going to look at that here in just a moment by utilizing the formula up above here. Okay, so let's go ahead and use the formula and break this down. Okay, so we're going to, obviously this is a call again, so we're going to be using the above formula. V naught, what is V naught? Well, that's $24.20, the option value. Equals PM, which is the same, 289, minus PS, which is the strike price. What's the strike price? Well, that now is 275. Plus VT, we don't know what that is. That's the unknown time value component. Plus, or excuse me, minus, because this is an option call, the dividend value, which is 1.9. Okay, so again, we're going to solve here for the time value. Recognize this little piece right here is what represents the intrinsic value. And intrinsic value is the current price minus the strike price, which we know is going to be 14. That is the current intrinsic value of the option. And you may say, why? What really is the intrinsic value? Well, keep in mind, you control, with this contract, you control 100 shares for every contract you own, 100 shares at $275. Okay, if you were to exercise this option call, that means you would have the right to buy 100 shares at $275. Okay, you have the right to buy that. And the guy who sold you the option contract is obligated to sell his 100 shares at $275. However, we know that the current market price is $289. So if you were to call your broker and exercise your option call, and you would force the guy who sold you the call to sell you at $275, you can turn immediately around and sell it at 289, since that's the going market price in the market at the moment. And as a result, you could sell it at 289, you bought it at 275, so you profit the difference, which is $14. That is the intrinsic value of the option contract. And hence, that's why the intrinsic value is 14. Okay, well, let's continue here and solve for the time value. Okay, so we have 24, 20 equals, this goes to 14, as we know that, plus time value minus 1.9. Okay, now we have 14, so we have to minus the 14 on the other side, so that brings it now to 1020 equals VT minus 1.9. And now we're minusing 1.9 on this side, so we have to add 1.9 on the other side. And it comes out to 12.1. So it comes out here that the time value of this option comes out to $12.10. It's very interesting because this is actually very coincidental that it happened to be the same time value as it was on the last Home Depot example that we did. Typically, the prices will fluctuate even with the strike price change here, so that the time value wouldn't be the same. But it just happened to be the same in this particular example. Now, let's go ahead and use the annualized return to calculate what the annualized return cost of buying this option is. We know it won't be the same as the last example, even though the time value is the same, because the strike price is different. Okay, annualized return equals VT, which is 12.1, divided by the strike price, which is 275. All times 365 days in a year, and it's the same expiration date, so we know it's the same time until expiration, which is 67 days. Okay, plugging all that into your trusty calculator, and we get 23.9%. So notice that the cost from a return basis, on our annualized return basis, is 23.9%. I remember the last example, it was 21.9%, I believe. And the reason is because you are controlling less equity, $27,500 worth of Home Depot stock, to be exact, for the same price at $12.10. And so the return is $23.9%. If you were selling this as a covered call, you would be earning 23.9%. This again is how a way of diagnosing the cost from the buyer's perspective, or a return or a gain from the seller's perspective on this option contract. Okay, let's go ahead and do a third example and dive into this a little bit deeper. We're going to do an entirely different option contract. Okay, here is the option contract. INTC, this is Intel, expiring January 20th, 2023. Okay, that's the expiration date, at a strike price of 30. And again, this is a call, and the value of this option contract is $8.50. And that is the true value of the option as I look it up today on the options market. Okay, the current market price is $37. And Intel does pay dividends, so its dividend value is 37 cents payable on August 5th and November 4th. So in total, it's actually going to end up paying 74 cents in dividends between today and the expiration date on January 20, 2023. Okay, let's look at this, this option, the way it's written again, and just quickly break it down so I know that you understand what this option actually means. So the underlying stock that the option is based upon is Intel, the microchip manufacturer, and the expiration of this option contract expires on January 20, 2023. It's more than 6 months away before this option contract expires. The strike price is $30 a share, and this is a call, which means if you bought this, this option contract, you would have the right to purchase 100 shares for every contract owned at $30 a share on Intel from today until the expiration date, January 20, 2023. Now, the market price, or I should say the option value price or the premium price of the option is trading at $8.50. And Intel is currently at a market price or a share price at $37. And of course, I've already acknowledged about the dividends. Okay, so that's what this entire option actually means. Okay, so let's utilize the formula again here and diagnose what the time value of the option contract is and what annualized return you're receiving if you're selling the option call or paying if you're buying it. Okay, so let's look back up here. We know this is a call, so we're going to use the top formula here. V naught, which is the option value, which we know is $8.50, equals this little component here. The market price we know is 37, minus the strike price, which is 30. So I'm going to pause right here and acknowledge this sooner rather than later. The intrinsic value of this option contract. What is the intrinsic value? Well, if you have the right as the call owner to purchase 100 shares at $30 on Intel, and the current market price I could turn around and sell it at immediately at $37, if I can buy it at 30, turn it around and sell it at 37, then what's its intrinsic value, the inherent value of the option contract? Well, it's simply 37 minus 30, and that gives you $7 of intrinsic value. Okay? Plus the time value, which we don't know, minus the dividend value between today and the expiration date in January 2023, it's going to pay out 2 dividends in the amount of 37 cents a share 2 times. So that's going to be 0.74. Okay, all we have to do now is solve for VT, or the time value. So we have 8.5 equals, this is 7, plus the time value, minus 0.74. Now we have here, if we're adding 7 on this side, to get it on this side of the equation, we have to minus 7. So I know I'll have $1.50 equals VT minus 0.74. So if I'm subtracting 0.74 on this side of the equation, I need to add it back on the other side. So then I've got $2.24 equals VT. So the time value of this Intel option is $2.24 a share. Now we see the cost of this Intel option is $2.24. But how does that compare in the context of the option relative to what we had seen with the Home Depot option before? Well, that's where the annualized return formula comes in, so we can diagnose that. So let me go ahead and erase this. Okay, I'll use a different color again. Annualized return equals VT, which we know is $2.24, divided by the strike price. What's the strike price? Well, it's 30. Times 365 days in a year. We have to annualize this. And you say, why do we want to annualize it? Well, every option contract has different terms and a different expiration date. And if it has a different expiration date, then it has different amounts of days before the contract expires. So we have to annualize that relative to 1 full year. So we're comparing apples with apples, oranges with oranges. If we don't, we can't reasonably compare one option contract with another option contract. We have to annualize them to make sure that the period of time that we're comparing it against are equal, so that way we can compare option with option and diagnose them in a logical and a reasoned out and an accurate manner. Okay, so how many days is it until January 20, 2023? Well, I looked it up and it's 193 days. Okay, then calculating what it is. I'll just put a return here and pop all this into my trusty calculator. And the figure that I get, 14.1%. Now, this in essence is the cost of the option contract. Now, you may say, well, maybe I don't understand this, Nathan, because I thought the cost of the option contract, which is what I was paying, is $8.50. Well, keep in mind, when you buy that option, you could immediately turn it around, exercise the option, and pull $7 a share out of the option immediately, even if you didn't turn around and sell the option contract right back in the market, even though that would be the better idea because you know you're going to get about the same price. But if you were to exercise it right now, you have $7 already built into your option because of the intrinsic value, $37 minus 30. So it's that extra value that you're having to pay for the time in the option that is the cost to you. And when you do the math, you see it's $2.24 total because you know they're going to pay out dividends that you're not going to receive because you don't actually own the underlying stock. And that is going to reduce the share price of the market price of Intel, which is again working against you if you are the owner of this option call. So when you diagnose the total cost to you as $2.24 relative to a underlying price that you are going to have to pay later in the future, on January 2023, you can diagnose what the real interest cost to you is on this particular option contract. And that cost is 14.1%. This is equivalent to you putting down a $7 down payment on a home and mortgaging the remainder amount of the value of the house of $30, let's just put it that way. And it's that mortgage that you are in a sense financing in the deal that you're concerned about. And it's that amount, the finance portion of the deal, relative to the price in interest that you're paying, that is allowing you to calculate what your annualized return cost is in the terms of the deal. Remember, option contracts are indeed contracts. They are terms of a contract. And as a result, with terms of the contract, you're dealing with a deal here. Not to be more so redundant, but this is a deal that you're framing up. And if you buy this, you're saying, I believe this is worth it. If you're selling it, you believe that you're also thinking it's worth it to you, receiving $2.24 for every share sold in this option contract. Okay, so just to lastly emphasize, this annualized return, if you're buying, is a cost to you, 14.1%. And if you are selling this as a covered call, this is 14.1% as a gain to you. And all you're doing is waiting for this contract to expire on January 20, 2023. Now, I will acknowledge a couple other things that are important. Let's talk theoretically here. If the price of Intel started to climb up considerably, let's say that the price of Intel goes all the way to $50 a share. And it goes to $50 a share by the expiration of this option contract on January 20, 2023. What will happen to the value of the option? Well, if it goes to $50 a share, keep in mind, if you own the option, you have the right to purchase 100 shares for every contract owned at $30 a share. So if you have someone locked in with you in a deal to buy from them at 30, but the actual market value, the actual market price of the stock is 50, then you know for sure that that option contract you hold is not going to be anything less than $20 a share. $50 minus 30. However, unless it's on the very day of expiration, there'll probably be a little bit of time value. Let's say this happened in November. So you have, 2 more months of time value. So there will be time value in the contract. Let's say maybe it's $1, $2 of time value. So that the actual option value of this contract may be $21, $22 per share. But you paid $8.50. So if you can turn around and sell it for $21 and you bought it for $8.50, then you obviously more than doubled your money. You doubled it and a half, 2.5 times the actual cost to you when you bought it at $8.50. This is what people are trying to do. They're not wanting to, in essence, fork up the entire stock price, $30 per share, or I guess it really in this case is $37 a share. They're not wanting to pay the entire value of that. They're wanting to pay $7 plus a little bit of interest time payments, which is $2.24, and finance the remaining $30 until a later date, which is about 6 months from today on January 2023. And as a result of doing it that way, setting up the terms of your deal, and not having to pay this $30 until some later date, then any increase in the value of the share is going to multiply what you paid exponentially. And hence, that's why you could turn around and sell these the value of these option calls for 2.5 times what you paid for them. So that's why you could turn around and sell these option calls for about 2.5 times what you originally paid for them. And that's what people find valuable about buying option calls. Now you may say, well, what about the guy who sold this option call? What's he thinking? Well, he might be a little bit bummed that the price went up that far and he didn't get to realize the value of that increase in the stock price. But he did walk away with $8.50, which means his effective price that he actually sold the stock at was not at 37, but rather at $8.50 plus the 30, which you're going to have to pay him the $30 per share. So he actually gets $38.50 plus a little bonus, which is 2 payments of 37 cents per share in dividends that occurred on August 5th and November 4th. So he's somewhat happy that he gets his dividends. He walks away with no losses. He walks away with $38.50 total plus the dividends in value that he received from selling this option contract by January 20, 2023. Okay, that's it. That concludes this example on Intel. We're going to do one more example on a very popular and famous stock, Tesla. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write down the terms after I erase here on our board. Okay, so we have Tesla, ticker symbol TSLA, expiring August 12th, 2022, at a strike price of $650. And this is a put, kind of mix things up here a little bit. And I took a look and see what the price of this particular option is, and it's $35. The current market price of Tesla is $702. And Tesla does not pay out any dividends, but for the sake of doing this example for a put and the dividend value changes a little bit, I'm just going to assume that that Tesla was going to pay out a $5 dividend on August 1st. Okay, now just for the record, Tesla does not pay dividends, but just for the sake of the example, let's say VD is $5 on August 1st. So what does this mean? So the underlying stock of this option is Tesla, and this option expires on August 12th, 2022. This option controls 100 shares of stock at $650, which means it controls $65,000 worth of stock at that price. This is a put, which means the value of the option goes up when the when the market price of Tesla goes down. And as I said, if you were to pay for this option contract, it's $35 per share or $3,500 for the entire contract. Again, 100 shares times $35 a share. Okay, so let's assess this particular option using the above formula. Now, of course, we're going to use this second formula here because this is a put. So option value, which is 35, equals the strike price, which is 650, minus the market price, which is 702. So again, I'm going to pause right there. We'll see 650 minus 702 is going to give us a negative 52, which will go to 0 because there's no such thing as intrinsic value that's less than 0. And this is showing, by the way, that this contract is going to expire worthless if it does not fall less than $650 a share by this expiration date. So currently, as it stands right now, there is no intrinsic value in this option contract, because if you were to go ahead and try and exercise it, why would you exercise and sell 100 shares at 650 when you could sell it at the current market price at 702? It wouldn't make any sense to exercise the right of this option contract. And as a result, the option contract value, or I should say the intrinsic value of the option contract, is 0. Okay, but let's continue on. Plus VT plus VD, which we said theoretically is $5 or 5. Okay, so let's solve for the time value. We have 35. Now this goes to 0, not negative 52. Capture that. Plus VT plus V. All right, so you hit plus the dividend value of 5. Okay, so minusing the 5 back over here, we have 30. And that is our time value. So this is demonstrating that our actual time value of this option contract is $30 a share. Notice that when you're for a put, any dividends that are paid out, and in this case, the $5 of dividend is working in your favor because it's actually going to be reducing the market price of Tesla if indeed Tesla was paying a $5 dividend between today and the expiration date, which is August 12th, which we're saying it is for the sake of the example. And as a result, that is working in your favor of reducing your time value $5 to $30 a share. Okay, so what's the annualized return of this? Let's clear out some space. Okay, annualized return. Okay, VT, which is 30, divided by the strike price, which is 650, times 365 days in a year, divided by the actual days until expiration, which is 32, and plug all that into your trusty calculator. And you get 52.6%. Okay, so what's this telling us? Well, if you were, let's say you were selling a cash secured equity put on Tesla, and that means, by the way, you would have to have $65,000 of cash in your brokerage account, and you sell a cash secured equity put contract to someone else, and they buy it from you for $35 a share. Okay, so that means that if the market price, which currently is $702 a share, never falls less than 650, then this contract will never actually gain intrinsic value. And on the day of expiration, August 12th, 2022, if it closes, the market price closes above $650, then this contract will expire worthless. The guy who sold the contract will walk away with $35 a share, or $3,500, and he's probably pretty happy at that point. He didn't have to meet any obligations of the contract of buying Tesla at $650, and dusts his hands off and walks away. But the guy who purchased the option contract, he's hoping that the market price of Tesla will fall significantly less than $650. Matter of fact, he has to see it go less than, $615 a share, because he paid $35 a share for the right to sell at $650. And you say, well, why does it have to fall all the way down to $615 before he makes a profit? Well, he paid $35 for the right to sell at $650 a share. So in other words, the price is going to have to fall less than $650 minus $35 for him to make any extra gain in the deal of this contract. $650 minus $35 is $615. So let's just say it closed on the day of expiration at $620. Well, at that point, he could turn around and sell the contract at about $30, or exercise the contract at exercise the contract at $620. He buys at $620. He has someone obligated to sell to him at $650, so he profits a difference, $30. Well, he paid $35. So if he paid $35 a share, he gains $30 a share on the day of expiration. He actually lost $5 a share times 100, or $500 on the terms of this deal. So you'll see here, he has to at least hope it gets to $615, but he's hoping it'll go less than that because no one wants to do a deal and just break even. They want to make a profit. So he's hoping it's going to fall less than that. Let's say it falls to $600. If it falls to $600, then in that case, he can exercise his contract or sell it. But let's say he exercises the contract, and he buys 100 shares at $600 a share because that's the new market price. And in the terms of the contract, he has someone that's able to is obligated to buy from him at $650. So he turns around, sells his 100 shares at $650, and he realizes a $50 profit. However, it wasn't a real profit of $50 because he paid $35 for the right of this contract. So he made 50. He paid 35. So as a result, he made $15 of profit on a $35 cost. So he made probably what's that? If you do the math, it's about 40% gain. And that is how it works with regards to this put contract. All put contracts works the same way, not just on Tesla. This is how the terms of the contract work. The price here of 52.6% is pretty hefty cost, even though despite the fact that the terms of the contract is about 8% or $52 less than the current price. And that's because Tesla has this, well, Tesla can be very volatile, one. And then two, a lot of people will anticipate that Tesla could collapse at any time because the value of Tesla is very, very high relative to the price or the profits that it actually produces. So people are willing to pay a very hefty price, $35, for the terms of these contracts. Whew, I know that was a lot. Hopefully, these examples shed light on how the terms of the option contract work and how the option value dynamically changes with the underlying stock price. Next, we will cover specific option strategies combined with the business perspective investing philosophy I acknowledged earlier. Stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, please like this video and/or subscribe to my channel. Have an awesome day.